Danny, Jahan Dotson played a lot in the preseason game.
Yes, he did.
You know what I think? I think this is them moving him to the slot more often than he's played in the slot, wanting to get him some work there, well, wanting to indoctrinate him into the position. What do you think?
It stands to reason. So for people that are saying he's now in that tier with, roster hopefuls and, guys that won't have large roles, I don't know about that yet. But it's what we're doing is we're working back from that's pretty atypical. If you're a starter, if you're a contributor, if you're a guy that's a bona fide that everybody knows, it looks like what Terry McLaurin did. Play for 11 snaps and you put your visor on, you do a sideline interview and you have jocularity and have a great time. That's what starters do. Guys that did something different, see Jamin Davis, see Fedarian Mathis, see Jahan Dotson. That's not what it looks like. So it's curious. This isn't, though, like Davis, where he's going to a new position and he played into the fourth quarter. This seems to me someone that they're almost either, whether they're trying to send a message saying, you haven't done anything yet, let's get to work. Or you haven't earned your relaxation. You haven't earned having your feet up on the sideline after one drive. Or if it's a new position, something is.
So do you think they're challenging him and pushing him?
Maybe to a degree. I think something is like he is not in the, I don't know how to say it, the rarefied air. He's not in the exclusive tier 1 group on their roster at this point.
Do you think him playing as much as he did was more than just, he's obviously not Terry McLaurin.
Right.
There's only one wide receiver on this team who is a stud, star, entrenched, unquestioned, here as long as you want to be here, we're paying you all the money kind of player. Everyone else can kind of be treated as go out and compete in the preseason, right? Like, do you view it as a story that Dotson played as much as he did?
So I think it definitely is. And it's not doesn't mean his roster spot's in danger or anything crazy like that.
Yes,
I don't think anybody's going that far.
That's a bridge too far.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there's certainly people that will jump to the conclusion that maybe Jahan Dotson is fighting or on the bubble for a job. And I don't think that that's accurate.
Right. I don't think so either. But I would say if Curtis Samuel was here still, he wouldn't have played into the second quarter. Right? There's a distinction that we need to draw
out of fear
here.
That he could get hurt 1,000 times between the first and the second quarter.
Fair criticism. And yes, by the way, he would have missed 17 different plays and then been play to play and then sat out the entire game. But a guy that was a bona fide, honest to goodness number 2 receiver, a starting receiver opposite Terry McLaurin, a guy that's a 1A or a 1B or even a bona fide number 2, would not have done that. Like, I refuse to believe that this is what that would look like in any other place. Like if you go to Seattle with DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba, or you go to Chicago, pick any receiver situation, the guy that's the number 2 behind the stud, right? Did Devontae Smith play deep into the second quarter? No, I understand that there's the extra caveat is he may be getting more reps at a certain position, but those reps happen at the joint practices. There's more this week. He'll get plenty of time to be on the grass and be more of a slot receiver. This to me is you are down a notch trying to work your way back up. It's more to it than we wanted to get you some more reps of Jeff Driscoll running some outs out of the slot or a couple of choice routes. This to me is a little bit more than that. It's nowhere near he's on the bubble. We're deep down into the depths. He's still going to play. He's still going to be a part of it. How big? I think they're kind of sending a message. It may not be that much.
If I was Jahan Dotson, I'd be a little bit miffed with the role in preseason game 1. But I also think I would look at it as I played almost 60% in the slot. If I play in the slot this year, I'm going to have my best season. Cliff Kingsbury, I saw someone at a funny zing online. They're like, Cliff Kingsbury hits the slot more than the old folks at the, at the MGM or whatever. Like, he wants to feed that position. Now, we could have a debate. I see someone in the 106.7 The Fan YouTube chat is saying, just what you want from your number 16 overall pick a couple years in is to have him running around in the slot. I think we need to separate where guys were drafted, what was thought of them from the previous regime to right now. The goal for Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, this regime should be in this system that you're now running. How do these guys fit best? How do you get the most out of them? If they've got to change positions, Jamin Davis, if they've got to change roles, Jahan Dotson, so be it. What's done is done. The proof is in the pudding. The picks weren't good.
Right.
They didn't make enough good draft picks. They missed way too often in free agency. I don't think we should harp a ton on that. We should keep score and acknowledge, man, oh man, Ron Rivera. And we will later in the day when we talk about a extension for a linebacker that everybody wanted here that Ron chose Jamin Davis over. But in the meantime, I think if he's in the slot, I'm excited about that. Now, I don't know who's going to be on the outside catching balls opposite Terry if he's inside, but I think Jahan Dotson can do that. I think it'll help him beat press and beat shift, not get stacked up at the line of scrimmage as much. He can use some of his shiftiness to lose defenders. I actually think it's going to be a good thing.
So I think it's better for the team if he's not an outside guy. And I think that was where my evaluation of him was wrong. I thought he could do both. I thought he could be, a guy. I think the reason for his lack, or I thought the reason for his lack of production at times at Penn State was terrible quarterback play. And I'm watching this guy win in traffic. I'm watching this guy go down the field. I'm like, this guy can do everything. And everybody thinks him as, he's just a slot guy. Now I actually think he's just a slot guy. So it's better for him. It's better for the team. And this has kind of been my point, that they don't have another outside guy that's worth a darn. And that's why I was advocating all offseason for them to go do something in that regard. But yeah, I don't think this is he's on the bubble or he's, cast down with the third stringers. I do think, though, this is a message that he is not up with the real top level ones who were out after the first series.
Yeah, it's also a rotational position, and I don't want to discount that either. Like you're going to have to slide all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You'll play inside, you'll play outside, you'll play the X, the Z, the Y, whatever they call their slot. You're going to play all over the place, right? So I think that's part of it too. Let's open up the MGM National Harbor listener lines on this for you guys at 800-636-1067. 800-636-1067. First things first, what did you think of Jahan Dotson playing as much as he did in the opener of the preseason? Was that telling or interesting to you? And then secondly, what's your expectation for him this year? Do you worry if he's in the slot about the other spot on the outside opposite Terry McLaurin? Let's go to Joe's in Reston, wants to talk Jahan Dotson. Joe, what do you make of how much he played in the opener?
Yeah, I'm not really too worried about it, to be honest with you. I think the offseason is really for evaluation, and they just really trying to figure out where he's going to go. But, I mean, in my opinion, it's not so much a skill set thing. I really think it's more of a size thing. They're going to find a lot of better matchups for him on the inside. And I think another one of his big problems is, if you ever watch this guy try and block, he's just really struggling in the run game, which is going to hurt. And just one more thing is that I think early on in Jaden's career, they're really going to spread it out wide with a lot of receivers. And I think it's just about getting your guys in the right spot for Jaden to, find that person.
So you actually said something there
Thank you, buddy.
that I think is really interesting, which is a correct assessment that Jaden Daniels likes to throw the ball outside. He threw a couple of specific routes way more often than everything else when he was at LSU. But one of the things he did best, and it's funny that we've already seen it in 3 throws, is that vertical go ball, that 9 route on the outside, or even occasionally like the fade, but toward the sideline. Anything kind of deep down the side of the field, he excelled at. A lot of times to his right, which is what you saw in that preseason game against the Jets. But I just told you Kingsbury really likes throwing to tight ends and really likes the slot in his offense, and that those positions normally feast. I'll be interesting to see how those things marry, because if Daniels' best bullet is outside the numbers, and if Cliff Kingsbury traditionally has really liked feeding the slot,
that's a good point,
then you probably want to be outside right now. Like the one play that Jaden was in charge of, so to speak, that we know he called, he went 4 verticals. He wasn't looking in the seam or to the back out of the backfield. He was looking to Diami Brown against the sideline going up top. And if Jahan Dotson was lined up there, that's Jahan Dotson's opportunity to make that catch.
No, it's a good point. I mean, the amount of stuff that I think they're going to do that they didn't have to do much of at LSU, that quick game stuff close to the line of scrimmage, those sort of body blow type passes, right? Zach Ertz 5 yards turnaround. Zach Ertz, bumping off of a linebacker in between a safety, or Benson out of the backfield, or Eckler, et cetera. He's going to have to do more than that, I think, than he did at the college level. And I think he's got plenty of arm talent, able to do it. Although that screen pass that he threw to Eckler, doesn't pretend well, but I think those adjustments will be made accordingly. So the deep stuff, you're right, is going to be predominantly on the outside. It's an interesting dichotomy, right? A little push and pull, again, to maximize the player and, make the offense tailored to what works best.
Here's a decent question on the 1067 The Fan YouTube chat. Somebody says, Could it be more an endorsement of Diami Brown than an indictment of Jahan Dotson? I don't think that's necessarily out of the question. Look, I'm a little bit dismissive of all the Diami Brown hype because last year I got burned big time. You can go back and find the tweet. I left practice and I'd watched 2 straight days, I think it was, of Diami Brown looking awesome. And I think I said, prediction, Diami Brown will be way more involved than anybody thinks, and this is the year where he's going to come on. And it didn't happen, right? So maybe it's just the fact that I was burned. I think it's more, I've seen him play well in camp 3 straight years. I know what it looks like when he dominates in practice. He always does. And then the regular season starts. You don't see it to the same extent. Maybe that was not his fault. Maybe that was opportunity or usage. I don't know. But yeah, I think it is very possible. Diami's a little bigger. In college, he was outstanding vertically, he made unbelievable deep catches time and time again from Sam Howell at North Carolina. I definitely think it's possible that they really have liked Diami, and maybe in whatever Cliff's offense is that it's different, maybe he's a better fit here. It is air raid-esque like North Carolina was.
So I hadn't thought of that, mostly because, kind of as you said, I'm even lower on him than you are. I've dismissed it. Like I've done that with everyone from Tavon Austin to Leonard Hankerson to Malcolm Kelly to, name that guy that dominates in shorts and a t-shirt, then catches 11 balls.
You move on from guys pretty quickly, I will say.
When
you sour on a guy, it's over.
Well, when there's hype and the production is nowhere close, then yes, I do. So yeah, 100%. So I hadn't considered that, but it's also not the craziest thing in the world, honestly. It really isn't. It's a different body type, and you already saw all of his highlights talking about Diami Brown's are those vertical traffic. That one-handed catch he made from Carson Wentz in that Titans game, going down the sideline. Maybe there's a role for him there. So that's not the most insane thing I've ever heard.